Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. I published an article over the weekend on Alternet. I mentioned it last Friday that it was coming, and I believe it's still up on alternet.org. If not, there certainly should be a link to it off thomhartmann.com. Is there, Louise? It's on Facebook. It's on our Facebook page. Okay, great. And the title of the article, and of course I've tweeted it, and I just retweeted it a little bit ago. Right-wing billionaires have a project to rewrite our Constitution, and they are shockingly close to pulling it off. And I started out talking about, imagine a new Constitution, one that bars the EPA and the Department of Education from even existing. All union protections are dead. There's no federal workplace safety standards. Even the child labor laws have been struck down, along with the national minimum wage. No more minimum wage. Imagine that the Constitution makes it illegal for the federal government to protect you from big polluters, from big banks, from big food, big pharma, from being poisoned by them. All are free to rip you off or poison you all they want. And your only remedy is in the state courts or the legislatures, because the Constitution prevents Congress, federal Congress, from doing anything about it. The federal government can't even enforce voting or civil rights laws. To add injury to insult, the federal government has shut down Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, because all those programs, along with food stamps, housing supports, and any programs that help the middle class, the less fortunate, or disabled, are, quote, beyond the reach of what the federal government can do. And then I say, a few years ago it would have been a thought experiment. Now it's nearly reality. There is a website. It's called conventionofstates.com. And you go over there and you can sign up. In fact, I encourage you to, find out what these people are up to. And, they'll let you know how it's coming along and keep you on the mailing list. Presumably, I signed up quite some time ago. I got the emails for a while. I don't know if they've taken me off the list or not. It probably did the first time I started talking about this on the radio. But, there's a couple of ways to amend the Constitution. The way that it has been amended 27 times, the first time in a package of 10 amendments, that was the Bill of Rights, and then one at a time after that, but it's been done 27 times since the founding of our country, is that Congress comes up with the constitutional amendment by a 2/3 majority in both houses, and they then push that out to the states, where 3/4 of the states have to ratify the proposed amendment to the Constitution. And as I said, it's been done once as a package of 10. It's been tried once as a package of 3. That's the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendments that basically ended slavery and, reset this country after the Civil War. But they were not passed as 3. They were passed separately, one at a time. So that's one way to amend the Constitution. A second way to amend the Constitution is for the amendment process to begin at the state level. And this does not require Congress. The states themselves can call a convention. This has never happened because it takes 2/3 of the states. It would take right now 34 states to say, we want a constitutional convention. And then once they have come up with a package of, now they can do it one way or the other. Either an individual amendment can be offered, and this is what Move to Amend and Public Citizen and other good government groups are doing, is they're saying, okay, here's a proposed amendment. It says corporations are not people, money is not speech. It basically rolls back these laws, these policies, these definitions that have been created out of whole cloth by the Supreme Court. And so it's just reversing Supreme Court doctrine, essentially. Now, you've got people on the right who are, pushing the same thing. They want a constitutional amendment that will outlaw abortion. They want a constitutional amendment that will outlaw the income tax. They want a constitutional amendment that will require a balanced budget, for example. So that's the one at a time strategy. And then there's the let's do it all at once strategy, which is where you call a convention, you get everybody together, you go through the whole Constitution, and you say, okay, I want to amend this, I want to amend this, I want to amend this, I want to amend this. I want to, clarifying the Constitution by the amendment process, and you end up with a list of possible amendments, and then you push that list as a package. Now, you don't have to go through Congress. If it starts with the states, all it takes is, as I said, 34 states to pull the thing together, 38 states to ratify it. 2/3 have to call the convention, 3/4 have to ratify the result of it. And boom, you slap 5 new amendments on the Constitution, and you've effectively rewritten the entire document. And they are doing it. They are absolutely doing it. And as sourcewatch.org says, that the group leading, that is funding conventionofstates.com is called Citizens for Self-Governance. If you go to sourcewatch.org and plug that in, they say it's a right-wing political organization tied to Eric O'Keefe that is campaigning for an Article 5 convention to amend the U.S. Constitution. Through its Convention of States project, CSG promotes an effort to amend the U.S. Constitution pursuant to Article 5, which provides that 34 states, I've already told you that. So they add, CSG Director Eric O'Keefe has deep ties to Charles and David Koch and has been a founder and funder of numerous right-wing groups, including Wisconsin Club for Growth. Through its Convention of States project, it is pushing for a constitutional convention in order to severely restrict federal power, for example, by redefining the Commerce Clause to prohibit Congress from enacting child labor or anti-discrimination laws, or by adding a balanced budget requirement. And then I quote from Wikipedia, but they're quoting from other sources. I probably should have used the original sources, but, if you're doing a high school term paper, use the original sources. As I say, I should have. Anyhow, this is what Wikipedia noted. In December 2013, nearly 100 legislators from 32 states met at Mount Vernon to talk about how to call a convention of states. This was 3.5 years ago. In February 2014, U.S. Senator Tom Coburn announced his retirement from Congress and said he was going to focus on promoting the Convention of States. In 2015, Marco Rubio endorsed the CSG's efforts to call an Article 5 convention. In January of last year, 2016, Texas Governor Greg Abbott called for a convention. As of 2016, this call for a convention of states has already passed the legislatures of Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Alaska, Tennessee, Indiana, Oklahoma, and Louisiana. They are on a roll. They are moving forward on this thing. And, they've got there's no turning back here. They want to have a constitutional convention to amend the Constitution. One of the amendments that's been proposed is to basically reverse the 16th Amendment, to do away with the legal right to collect income taxes. Which takes us to an amazing piece by Patricia Cohen in the New York Times over the weekend. It's titled, Profitable Companies, No Taxes. Here's how they did it. How does a billion-dollar company pay no taxes? And, she just lays it out. This is companies with the biggest tax subsidies over the 8 years the Institute's report looked at. This is from a group called the Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy. Nearly 40% of the largest companies in America paid no taxes in at least 1 year between 2008 and 2015. 18, including General Electric, International Paper, Priceline.com, and PG&E, incurred a total federal income bill of less than zero over the entire 8-year period, meaning they received rebates. So here are the subsidies that you and I gave to these companies. You and I gave AT&T. This isn't that they paid no taxes, that their tax level was zero. They paid negative taxes, which is to say they got tax money from you and me. AT&T got $38 billion. Instead of paying taxes, our tax dollars went to them. Wells Fargo got $31 billion. JP Morgan Chase got $22 billion. This is over an 8-year period. We are subsidizing these giant corporations. Verizon got $21 billion. IBM got $17 billion. General Electric got $15 billion. ExxonMobil got $12 billion. Boeing got $11 billion, almost 12, 11.9. Procter & Gamble, $8.5 billion. 21st Century Fox, $7 billion from you and me. Time Warner, $6.7 billion. Goldman Sachs got $5.5 billion. Plus, they got, 7 positions inside Trump's inner circle and on his cabinet? This is remarkable. And this is the kind of thing this is what happens when you've got a country that has essentially been taken over by corporate power. And now we've got a president and Republicans in both the House and the Senate who are saying, oh, and by the way, those corporations, they pay too much in taxes. And so do all of their CEOs, even though you and I are paying them. We need to wake up. We'll be right back.